The night was dark, the sky heavy with black clouds. A cold wind moved across the empty land, carrying with it the smell of dust and blood. Somewhere far from any village, there stood an old, forgotten well, deep and filthy, filled with shadows and crawling insects. This was not a place for water, this was a place of death. From inside the well came a weak cry. It was the voice of an alien woman, her tone filled with pain and fear. She had been thrown down here by those who wanted her. Gone. Her body was cut and bruised, her silver skin marked with dirt, her strange glowing eyes dim with despair. The walls of the well were wet and slippery, too steep for her to climb. Bones of others lay around her, broken and white, telling the truth that this well had taken lives before. She shouted again, her voice echoing through the night. "Help me, please. Someone, anyone." But there was no answer. Only the silence of the empty land. The stars above did not care. The wind did not care. No one ever cared. She thought of her last moments on her homeworld. The betrayal. The faces of those who had pushed her into the well. They had laughed as they threw stones after her, laughed as she fell into the darkness. They wanted her to die alone, to rot where no one would see her, and maybe, she thought, that was her fate. Her hands shook as she pressed them against the slimy wall, trying once more to climb. Her nails broke, her arms trembled, and she slid back down, landing among the bones. Tears ran down her face, glowing faintly in the dark. She screamed again, this time with anger. "I will not die here. Do you hear me? I will not." The wind carried her cry across the land, over the hills, through the trees. Far away, a lone human traveler walked along a narrow path. He stopped suddenly, his head turning. Had he really heard it? A voice? Calling from the darkness? No, it could not be, he thought. It must be the wind. But then the cry came again, sharp, desperate, almost breaking. "Help me, please." The human's heart began to beat faster. He felt fear, but also something else. Something pulling him toward the sound. He followed the voice through the trees, each step louder, heavier, until at last he reached the old well. He leaned over, peering into the darkness, and saw her, the alien woman, broken, filthy, but alive, looking up at him with eyes full of fire. For a moment neither spoke. Only the night and the wind filled the silence. Then the alien woman raised her trembling hand and whispered, "You, human, save me, or leave me to die like the rest." The human stared, unsure. He had a choice, and that choice would change everything. The human stood at the edge of the well, his hands gripping the rough stones. His breath was unsteady, his eyes fixed on the alien woman below. She looked half dead, yet there was strength in the way she glared up at him. Her glowing eyes were not only begging, they were demanding, commanding, as if she believed he could not walk away. He swallowed hard, his mind racing. He was only a traveler, carrying nothing but a small pack and a blade for defense. He did not know this woman, he did not know her kind. But her cry had pulled him here, and now her gaze chained him in place. If he left, her voice would haunt him forever. If he helped, danger would surely follow. The woman's voice cracked as she spoke again. "You hear me, human? If you climb away, I will curse your world, I will curse your bloodline." Her words shook with rage, but also with terror. It was the threat of someone who feared being forgotten in the dark. The human did not know if she had the power to curse, but he knew one thing. She wanted to live. He looked around, the forest silent but strange. The wind pressed against his skin like unseen fingers. Shadows seemed to shift between the trees. He felt eyes watching him, though he could see no one. He knew if he stayed here too long, something else would come. Quickly, he pulled a rope from his pack. He tied it to a strong tree root and lowered it down into the well. "Climb," he said, his voice low. The alien woman hesitated, staring at him as if trying to read his soul. Then, with slow effort, she grabbed the rope. Her arms shook, her body weak. But she climbed, pulling herself upward inch by inch. The human leaned down, offering his hand. Their skin touched, hers cold and smooth, his warm and rough. For a moment, They locked eyes, and in that silent moment, a strange bond began. A bond neither wanted but both could not deny. At last she pulled herself out, collapsing on the ground beside him. She lay gasping, her chest rising and falling fast. The human knelt beside her, unsure whether to comfort her or step back. She whispered, "You should not have saved me, human. Now they will come for you too." Before he could ask who they were, a sound broke the night, a crunch of dry leaves, slow and steady. The human's eyes darted toward the forest. Figures moved in the darkness, tall and silent, their shapes not fully human. The alien woman sat up suddenly, her face pale, her eyes wide with fear. "They found me," she hissed. "The hunters." The human gripped his blade. "Who are they?" he whispered. The woman shook her head. "Not men, not beasts. They serve the ones who threw me into the well. They will not stop until I am dead, and now they will kill you too." The shadows came closer, their eyes glowing faintly like embers in the night. The human felt his heartbeat thunder in his chest. He had wanted only to pass through this land, but now he was trapped in someone else's war. Still, he did not step away from her. Something deep inside told him to stand his ground. The alien woman placed her hand on his arm, her grip stronger than before. "You cannot fight them all," she whispered. "But if you run with me, maybe we can live." Her words were sharp, urgent, filled with a desperate truth. The human looked back, at the trees where the hunters were gathering. Their weapons shimmered with strange light, ready to strike. He knew he had only one chance to act, to run or to fight, to trust her or to abandon her. He tightened his grip on the blade, his eyes meeting hers again. "You cried for help," I answered, he said. "Now we run." And, before the hunters could step fully into the clearing, the human pulled the alien woman to her feet. Together they vanished into the dark forest, the sound of pursuit close behind. The forest swallowed them, dark and endless. Branches clawed at their clothes, roots grabbed at their feet, but still they ran. Behind them the hunters followed, their strange weapons glowing like fireflies in the night. The sound of heavy footsteps, sharp clicks, and growls echoed through the trees. The human pulled the alien woman forward, guiding her through the shadows. Her breath came in quick, painful gasps, but she did not let go of his hand. The moon broke through the clouds for a moment, spilling silver light across their path. The human saw the glint of water ahead, a small river cutting through the forest. He pointed, whispering urgently, "We can lose them there." The woman nodded weakly, though her eyes still held fear. They reached the riverbank, the current swift and cold. The hunters' voices rose behind them, closer now. Without another thought, the human leapt into the river, pulling her with him. The freezing water struck like knives. The current dragged at them, pulling them under. The alien woman struggled, her body already weak. The human wrapped an arm around her, fighting to keep them both afloat. The river carried them fast, crashing against rocks, spinning them in circles. Each second felt like drowning, yet each second also carried them farther from the hunters. At last, the current slowed, throwing them onto a muddy bank. They crawled out, coughing and gasping, water dripping from their hair and clothes. For a long moment they lay still, only the sound of the river filling the silence. Then the woman whispered, "They will not stop. They will follow the river. They always follow." Her voice trembled, but her eyes burned with anger, not only fear. The human sat up, scanning the dark trees around them. They needed shelter, something to hide them until the hunters passed in. The distance through the mist of the river, he saw a broken structure, tall stone pillars leaning against each other, half swallowed by vines. It looked like the ruins of an ancient temple. "Over there," he said, helping her stand. They stumbled through the mud, their legs heavy, their hearts still racing. As they entered the ruins, the air grew colder. The place was quiet, too quiet, as if the stones themselves were watching. Inside, the ruin stood a cracked altar covered in strange symbols glowing faintly in the dark. The alien woman's eyes widened. "This place, it is older than my people, older than the hunters, older than war itself." Her fingers brushed against the stone, and the symbols pulsed brighter. The human stepped back, uneasy. "What does it mean?" he asked. The woman's voice dropped to a whisper. It means the secret is close. The secret they fear. Before he could ask more, a sound echoed through the ruins, a heavy crunch of boots on stone. The hunters had found their trail, their shadows stretched across the broken walls, tall and twisted. The human raised his blade, ready though he knew it was useless against their weapons. The woman's hand glowed faintly as she pressed her palm against the altar. I can open the way, she said, but you must hold them back for a moment. The hunters stepped into the ruin, their eyes glowing like fire in the dark. They raised their weapons, beams of light gathering at the tips. The human stood in front of her, blade in hand, heart pounding. For a single moment, time seemed to freeze. The human, the alien woman, the hunters, and the ruin itself. Then the air split with the roar of energy fire. Stone shattered. Dust filled the air. The ruin shook like a dying beast. The human charged forward, swinging his blade at the nearest hunter. The strike was wild, desperate, but it forced the creature to step back. Sparks flew as energy blasts struck the stone walls. The woman cried out, her hands pressing deeper into the altar, symbols glowing brighter and brighter. Just a little longer, she screamed, her voice breaking. The ground beneath them trembled, a crack splitting across the floor. A sudden beam of light burst from the altar, throwing the hunters back. The ruin shook violently, dust and stone raining from above. The human grabbed the woman, pulling her close as the floor beneath them began to fall away. The altar glowed like a doorway opening, shadows swirling within. She whispered, her voice filled with both hope and terror. If we step through, there is no turning back. The human looked into the light, then back at the hunters rising again. With fury, he tightened his grip on her hand, and together they leapt into the unknown. The light swallowed them whole. For a moment the human felt weightless, as if he were falling through empty space. The alien woman's hand gripped his tightly, her glowing eyes fixed forward. The roar of the hunters, the crack of their weapons, the ruin collapsing, all faded into silence. Then, with a sudden crash, they landed hard on cold stone. The human gasped, pulling himself up. They were no longer in the ruined temple. Instead, they stood inside a vast underground chamber, its walls covered in shining symbols that pulsed like living veins. The air smelled of iron and dust, and a low hum echoed all around them. The alien woman rose slowly, her face pale, her body trembling, yet her eyes burned with new fire. This place, she whispered, was built by the first ones long before. Humans long before my kind, long before hunters. Her voice carried both fear and respect. The human glanced at the walls, uneasy. What is this? He asked. Why bring us here? The woman turned to him, her face heavy with sorrow. Because you deserve to know the truth. She stepped closer to the glowing wall, pressing her hand against it. The symbols shifted, forming images that hovered in the air. A story unfolded, alien armies marching across stars, burning worlds, enslaving entire races. The human stared, unable to believe what he saw. The woman's voice was low but steady. My husband led them. He was a warlord feared across galaxies. The image changed, showing a tall alien warrior, armor shining like black fire, eyes burning with cold rage. The woman's hands shook. He was my mate, my protector, my curse, she whispered. He found something here, a weapon so powerful it could destroy all who opposed him. The human's heart tightened. And you, he asked, you were his queen. Her eyes filled with pain, but she nodded. Yes, I was his queen, but I was also his prisoner. He cared only for power, not for love. She looked at the human, her voice breaking. When he fell in battle, his enemies came for me because they believed I carried his secret, the key to the weapon. They threw me into the well to die, but even there I carried the truth. The human's mind spun. So, this woman was not only a victim, but also a living key to something greater, a weapon hidden in this forgotten place. He felt both fear and pity for her. You could bring peace, he said slowly, or destruction. Her lips trembled. Yes, she whispered. That is why they hunt me, to control me, or to end me. Before the human could speak again, a sudden sound echoed through the chamber, the heavy slam of a door. the hiss of strange machines. He spun around, his blade ready. From the shadows stepped a tall figure cloaked in dark armor. Not a hunter, but something more human in shape. His eyes glowed beneath the mask and his voice was cold. "Running will not save you, widow." The woman froze, her face draining of color. The human looked between them. "You know him?" he asked. Her voice shook. "Yes, he is no hunter. He is worse. He was once my husband's most loyal soldier. Now he hunts me to finish what his master began." The armored figure stepped closer, his footsteps echoing like thunder. "You should have died in the well," he growled. "But now, human, you will die beside her." The alien woman grabbed the human's arm, pulling him back toward the glowing wall. "The chamber can still protect us," she whispered. Her eyes glowed brighter as she pressed her palms against the stone. The cymbals pulsed faster, the hum rising to a deafening roar. The armored soldier raised his weapon, its blade shining with black fire. The human tightened his grip on his own blade, though it looked small in comparison. The chamber trembled, the light flaring, the air alive with energy, and in that moment, the human realized the truth was not just a story of her past. It was a trap, a warning, and a choice. The chamber itself was waking and it demanded loyalty. Loyalty to her, or to death. The chamber shook like a living beast. Light pulsed across the walls, cracks opening in the stone as if the place itself wanted to push them out. The armored soldier stepped forward, his black blade humming with energy. The human tightened his grip on his smaller weapon, knowing it was useless but refusing to back down. The alien woman's voice rose over the roar of the chamber. "This place is not safe. It will bury us all. We must run." She pulled at the human's arm, her glowing eyes wild with fear, but the soldier blocked the only clear path, his voice like iron. "You cannot run from judgment, widow, and the human has already chosen his death." Before he could strike, the chamber itself reacted. A sudden surge of light exploded from the walls, hurling the soldier backward. The ground split, stone falling away into a dark pit. The human and alien woman were thrown against the floor, struggling to stand. She screamed, "The exit through the crack, hurry!" They raced toward a jagged opening, leaping over broken stone. The hum of the chamber turned into a howl, as if the ancient place was alive and angry. Behind them, the armored soldier rose again, his cloak torn but his weapon still burning. He chased them, each step shaking the ground, his voice echoing, "You cannot escape, you cannot hide." The human and alien woman pushed through the crack, stumbling into the cold night air. They emerged on a cliffside high above a wide river, its water dark and violent under the moon. The human's chest burned with exhaustion, but he did not stop. The woman pointed to the water, her voice urgent. "They will follow. We must cross. It is our only chance." The soldier appeared in the crack behind them, his blade glowing brighter. Hunters poured out after him, their eyes like burning coals. The human grabbed the woman's hand and together they leapt. The river swallowed them, dragging them down into its furious current. The cold struck like knives, the water roaring in their ears. The human fought to keep hold of the woman. Her body was weak, the river pulling her under. He wrapped his arm around her waist, kicking hard, pushing toward the far bank. The hunters fired from above, beams of light striking the water, boiling it in bursts, but the current dragged them farther away, carrying them beyond reach. The human's strength began to fade, the water pulling him down. He gasped for air, but the river swallowed his breath. The alien woman pressed her glowing hand against his chest. A warmth spread through him, strange but powerful. Her voice whispered in his mind, "Do not stop. Not yet." With renewed strength, he pushed harder, fighting the current. At last, they slammed into the far bank, coughing, gasping, half dead. They crawled onto the mud, their bodies shaking. For a moment, silence surrounded them, broken only by the river's roar. The woman's eyes dimmed as she lay back, whispering, "They will not stop. They never stop." The human scanned the dark forest beyond. Then he saw it, a shadow rising in the distance, an ancient structure half buried in vines and earth. Not a ruin like before, but something stronger, something waiting, he pointed, his voice rough. There. We can hide there. The woman lifted her head, her eyes widening. Her voice shook with awe. That is no hiding place, human. That is a temple of the first ones, where secrets were born. The forest around them seemed to lean closer as if listening. The wind carried whispers, the ground hummed faintly under their feet. The human felt his skin crawl, but he knew they had no choice. If they stayed by the river, the hunters would find them. If they moved forward, they stepped into the unknown. The alien woman's hand gripped his tightly. You saved me once, she said softly. Now you must save yourself. If you stay with me, you will never know peace. The human looked at her, his jaw tight, his heart heavy. Then I will never know peace, he answered, pulling her toward the temple. Behind them, across the river, the hunters gathered at the cliff, their glowing eyes fixed on the fugitives. The armored soldier raised his blade, pointing it toward the temple in the distance. His voice carried across the water like thunder. You cannot run forever, widow. The river may hide you tonight, but tomorrow your blood will be mine. The human and the alien woman disappeared into the shadows of the forest, and the temple ahead seemed to breathe, as if it had been waiting for them. The temple loomed before them, dark and heavy with age. Its walls were cracked, swallowed by vines, yet strange symbols still glowed faintly across the stone. The air around it felt alive, humming with power. The human slowed his steps, his hand tightening around the alien woman's. He felt as if unseen eyes watched them from every shadow. This place, she whispered, her voice trembling, is older than my people, older than your kind. It was built by the first ones, and it remembers all who enter. The human frowned. Remembers, he repeated. How can stone remember? The woman looked at him with eyes that glowed softly. In ways you cannot yet understand. They stepped inside, the air colder than the night outside. The floor was smooth, though worn by countless ages. Tall pillars rose around them, each carved with faces of creatures the human could not recognize. Some looked like beasts, others like gods. The faces seemed to follow him as he walked. Every step echoed as if the temple was listening. At the center stood a round chamber, its walls covered in glowing lines that pulsed like veins. A single pedestal rose in the middle, holding a broken shard of metal. The woman gasped, dropping to her knees. It is here, she whispered. Part of the weapon. The human stepped closer, staring at the shard. It looked ordinary, dull, cracked, no larger than his hand, yet the air around it was heavy, pressing. Against his chest he reached out, but the woman grabbed his wrist sharply. Do not touch it, human, not unless you are ready to carry its burden. He pulled his hand back, uneasy. What does it do? He asked. Her voice dropped, heavy, with memory. It is a key, one piece of a weapon my husband sought, a weapon that could end wars or burn worlds to ash. He believed he could control it, but the weapon is alive, it chooses who may wield it. The human felt a chill crawl up his spine. You mean it thinks? He asked. The woman nodded slowly. Yes, it thinks, it judges, and it waits. If you are unworthy, it will destroy you. She pressed her hand gently against the pedestal. The shard pulsed, sending a faint glow across the chamber. Suddenly, the temple itself responded. The walls, shifting, symbols rearranging, a voice deep and ancient filled the air. Who enters, who dares seek the power of the first ones? The human's heart raced. The voice did not come from any creature. It came from the stone itself. He looked around, his blade trembling. In his hand, the woman bowed her head, her voice steady though her body shook. I am the widow of the warlord who sought your power. I do not seek conquest, only survival. The voice rumbled, the walls glowing brighter. And the human, what does he seek? The human froze, the voice pressing against his mind like weight. He had not spoken, yet the temple demanded his truth. He swallowed hard. I seek nothing. I only answered her cry for help. The chamber grew silent, the light dimming. Then the voice returned, softer but sharper. A protector or a fool we shall see. The floor shook, cracks opening around the pedestal. From the shadows rose a massive figure, carved of stone but alive. It was a guardian towering with eyes of burning light. Its voice boomed, "Prove your loyalty, human. Prove you will not abandon her or be destroyed." The woman grabbed his arm, her eyes wide with fear. "This is the test," she whispered. "The temple will not let us leave unless you prove yourself." The guardian raised its stone fist, the air crackling with power. The human's breath came fast, his mind racing. He had fought hunters, faced rivers, escaped death. But now he stood against something ancient and immortal, and the temple demanded only one answer. Would he stand for her, or would he run? The guardian towered above them, a giant of living stone. Its eyes glowed like fire trapped in crystal. Its voice thundered through the chamber. "Prove your loyalty, human. Prove your heart, or both of you will be broken." The human tightened his grip on his blade, his chest rising and falling quickly. He had faced hunters, he had crossed rivers, but this was different. This was not a creature of flesh and bone. This was something ancient, something that had judged countless others before him. Beside him, the alien woman clutched his arm, her glowing eyes full of fear. "This test is not about strength," she whispered. "It is about choice. The guardian will force you to decide between me and yourself." The human's throat went dry. He had always survived by protecting only himself. Yet now he had risked everything to keep her alive. The guardian stepped forward, its stone fist smashing against the floor, the ground splitting open beneath them. The woman screamed as the crack widened, flames rising from the pit below. The human pulled her back, but the guardian's voice shook the chamber. "Choose, human. Save yourself or save her. One path will open, the other will burn." Suddenly the floor shifted, forming two bridges over the fire. One led to safety, wide and clear, the other narrow and crumbling, leading toward the alien woman who stood trembling at the edge. The human realized what the test demanded: walk the safe path and abandon her, or risk his life on the crumbling bridge to reach her. The guardian's voice boomed again. "Your heart speaks louder than your blade. What will it say?" The human's chest ached, his mind racing. If he chose himself, he would live, but her screams would follow him forever. If he chose her, he might fall into the fire. Yet something deep inside told him this was the only path worth taking. He stepped toward the broken bridge, his blade shaking in his hand. The woman's eyes widened, glowing with tears. "You will die," she cried. "Leave me, human. I do not want your blood on my hands." But he shook his head, his voice steady. "You cried for help," I answered. "I will not stop now." The bridge cracked beneath his feet as he crossed, flames leaping higher. Every step felt like death waiting to swallow him, yet he kept moving, his eyes never leaving hers. At last he reached her side, grabbing her trembling hand, pulling her close. The guardian roared, its voice shaking the walls. "You choose her. You choose death." The flames surged, the bridge collapsing behind them. The human shielded her with his body, ready for the end. But instead of fire, there came light. The flames dimmed, the pit closed, and the guardian lowered its head. Its stone face softened, its eyes glowing with respect. "You have chosen loyalty, not fear," it said. "Your strength is not in your blade, but in your heart. The temple accepts you." The human gasped, holding the alien woman close, his chest still pounding. She looked at him with tears shining in her eyes, whispering, "No one in my world would have chosen me. Only you." The guardian stepped aside, the ground shaking as a hidden door opened behind it. A passage leading deeper into the temple where light pulsed brighter than before. The guardian's voice echoed one last time. "Beyond lies the weapon's heart. But beware, hunters are near, and loyalty will be tested again." The human and the alien woman stood hand in hand, staring into the glowing passage. They had passed the test, but the path ahead promised even greater trials. And somewhere beyond the temple walls, the hunters prepared for their final strike. The hidden door closed behind them with a heavy rumble. The passage stretched long and narrow, its walls glowing faintly like veins of fire. The air was heavy, every breath thick with dust and old secrets. The human held his blade tight, his eyes scanning the shadows. Beside him, The alien woman walked slowly, her glowing eyes fixed on the path ahead. But they were not alone. Far above the temple, the hunters had gathered, their numbers greater than before. The armored soldier stood at their front, his black blade raised, high, his voice cutting through the night. "Seal the exits, burn the temple, drag them out if you must. Tonight the widow dies." The hunters moved like wolves, their glowing eyes piercing the darkness, their weapons humming with deadly light. Inside the passage, the human felt the tremor of footsteps. He turned, hearing faint echoes. "They are coming," he whispered. The alien woman's face tightened. "They will not stop until we are gone, but the temple itself will not let them pass easily." The ground shook as the hunters broke into the outer chambers, their weapons firing at the stone walls. Beams of light lit the darkness, sparks flying, dust rising. The temple groaned as if alive, its symbols burning brighter in response. The human and the woman rushed forward, reaching a wide hall filled with broken statues and fallen pillars. The woman froze, her eyes widening. "This is the heart's gate," she whispered. "But it will not open without blood." Before she could explain, the walls burst apart. Hunters pouring into the hall, their weapons raised. The human charged forward, swinging his blade, striking at the first creature. His strike was wild but filled with fury. Forcing it back, another hunter lunged, claws slashing, but the woman raised her glowing hand, a burst of light hurling it away. The hall filled with chaos, beams of energy cutting through stone, the sound of battle shaking the temple. The armored soldier stepped into the hall, his black blade glowing brighter. He pointed at the woman, his voice sharp. "Widow, surrender, and I will grant the human a quick death. Resist, and I will tear him apart slowly." The woman's eyes flared with rage. "You betrayed my husband, you betrayed your kind, and now you dare threaten him," her voice echoed, strong though her body trembled. The human stood beside her, his breath heavy. "If you want her," he growled, "you'll have to go through me first." The soldier laughed, the sound cold and cruel. "Then you die first, human." The battle roared, the hunters rushing in waves. The human fought desperately, blocking, striking, dodging blasts. The woman unleashed bursts of strange light, her energy burning brighter with each strike. Yet the hunters were endless, their shadows filling the hall. The ground shook as the armored soldier charged, his blade cutting through stone like paper. The human barely blocked the strike, his arms burning from the force. The clash sent him crashing against a broken pillar, his blade trembling in his grip. The soldier pressed forward, his weapon raised for the final blow. The alien woman cried out, her voice breaking, "No!" Her hands glowed brighter than ever, light pouring from her body. The symbols on the gate behind them flared alive, pulsing with power. The soldier turned, his eyes widening as the temple responded. The gate trembled, cracks forming across its surface. A voice deep and ancient filled the chamber once more. "The heart awakens." The hunters froze, their glowing eyes flickering with fear. Even the armored soldier stepped back, his blade lowering slightly. The woman's body shook as the light drained from her, her knees buckling. She whispered weakly, "The weapon, it hears us." The human caught her before she fell, his own chest rising with fury. He looked at the soldier, his voice sharp as steel. "You came here to kill her, but now you'll face the temple itself." The gate cracked open, light spilling out like a rising sun. The roar of the temple shook the ground, dust raining from the ceiling. The hunters hissed and stepped back, their courage faltering. But the armored soldier raised his blade again, his voice filled with rage. "No, she belongs to me, and no human will take her from my hands." The battle was not over, it was only beginning, and the temple's weapon had just opened its eye. The hall trembled as the great gate split open, light pouring out like fire. The human held the alien woman close, her body weak, her glowing eyes half shut. Behind them, hunters hesitated, shadows flickering under the brightness. But the armored soldier did not retreat. He stepped forward, his black blade burning hotter, his voice sharp as a knife. "You should never have lived, widow," he growled. "You carry his secret, his power, but you were too weak to control it." The woman forced herself to stand, leaning on the human. Her face was pale, but her voice steady. "You were once Loyal to my husband. You swore an oath to him, and now you betray his memory. The soldier laughed, the sound echoing cruelly. Your husband was a fool, chasing power he did not understand. I only serve strength, and you are nothing but a key I will break. The human stepped forward, his blade raised. You speak of loyalty, yet you are nothing but a coward hiding behind soldiers and shadows. The soldier's glowing eyes turned to him, filled with rage. You dare, human. You dare to challenge me. When you are nothing but dust beneath my boots, the hunters hissed, surrounding the chamber. But none dared cross the burning light spilling from the gate. The temple seemed to sense the betrayal, its walls glowing brighter, its voice rumbling through the stone. One who swore loyalty now breaks his oath. Blood will answer blood. The soldier roared, charging at the human, their blades clashing with thunder. The human's arms shook, every strike heavier than the last. The soldier pressed forward, his black blade cutting through stone, sparks flying with each clash. The human staggered back, his body bruised, his strength fading. The alien woman cried out, her voice desperate. Stop, please, he cannot fight you alone. The soldier turned his burning gaze on her. He is already dead, widow, and when he falls I will rip the secret from your bones. He struck again, his blade nearly breaking the human's defense. The human stumbled, blood dripping from his arm, his breath ragged, yet he stood, his eyes filled not with fear but with fury. You may be stronger, he said, his voice rough, but I will not abandon her. The soldier's laughter filled the chamber. Fool, she will abandon you just as she abandoned him. She belongs to no one, not even you. The woman's eyes filled with tears, her body trembling. His words cut deep, for there was truth in them. Her husband had fallen, betrayed by his own lust for power, and she had survived, cursed with secrets she never asked for. She looked at the human, bloodied, shaking, yet standing firm for her, and something inside her broke. She screamed, her hands glowing brighter than ever. Light burst from her body, slamming into the soldier, throwing him back. The hunters shrieked, stumbling away from the holy fire that burned their eyes. The woman fell to her knees, blood dripping from her lips, her body weakening. With every burst of power, the human rushed to her side, holding her, his heart pounding. You'll kill yourself, he whispered. She shook her head, her glowing eyes dimming. I would rather burn than see him take you. The soldier rose again, his armor cracked, his voice filled with rage. You think your light can stop me, widow, but it will consume you before it touches me. He raised his blade, stepping forward, but the temple itself roared. The gate split wider, its light blinding, the voice echoing like thunder. Sacrifice opens the heart, blood feeds the fire. The woman coughed, blood staining her lips. Her trembling hand reached for the shard of the weapon still glowing on the pedestal. The human tried to stop her, his voice breaking. No, don't. It will kill you. But she smiled faintly, her tears glowing like silver. You answered my cry, human, now I will answer yours. Her hand closed around the shard, light exploding across the chamber. The hunters screamed, their bodies burning away into ash. The soldier staggered, his blade dimming under the storm of light. The human shielded his eyes, holding her as her body shook with unbearable power, and in that terrible brightness she whispered her last vow. I will not let him take you, not while I still breathe. The light consumed the hall, burning away, stone and shadow alike. The hunters were gone, their screams fading into silence, their bodies turned to ash. Only the armored soldier remained, his black blade cracked, his armor shattered, yet his rage still burning. The human held the alien woman in his arms, her body trembling, her glowing eyes fading like dying stars. You cannot hold it, the soldier roared, stepping forward through the storm of light. That power will destroy you before it destroys me. The woman's hand clutched the shard tighter, her voice breaking with pain. Better me than you. The ground shook as the gate burst fully open, revealing a chamber of pure light. At its center floated the heart of the weapon, a core of shifting energy, alive and waiting. The temple's voice filled the air, heavy as thunder. The final choice has come, who shall carry the fire of the first ones? The human looked at the woman, tears burning in his eyes. She was slipping away, her strength drained by the shard, her blood staining his hands. No, he whispered. I will not let you die like this. The soldier raised his blade, charging forward with a roar. Then, die together. The human stood, placing himself between her and the soldier. He raised his small blade, knowing it could not match the black fire, but he refused to move. The soldier struck, his blade crashing down. At the last instant, the shard in the woman's hand flared, a burst of energy blocking the strike. The clash shook the chamber, throwing the human to the floor. The woman coughed, her voice weak. "Take it. Take the shard." The human shook his head, his heart breaking. "It will kill you." Her trembling hand touched his cheek, her glowing tears falling onto his skin. "You were the only one who answered me. The only one who saw me, please. Carry this for me." The soldier charged again, his armor burning with fury. The human grabbed the shard from her hand, pain ripping through his body like fire. Light exploded around him, his veins burning, his eyes glowing with the same silver fire as hers. The soldier swung his blade, but the human met it with the shard, the clash blinding. The black weapon shattered, the shockwave throwing the soldier across the chamber. The armored traitor screamed as the light consumed him, his body breaking apart into dust. The hall fell silent, only the hum of the weapons, heart filling the air. The human staggered, the shard glowing in his hand, his body shaking. The woman lay on the floor, her chest rising weakly, her voice a whisper. "You did what no one else would. You chose me." He knelt beside her, his glowing hand trembling as he held hers. "I did not save you because of destiny," he whispered. "I saved you because I could not walk away." Her lips curved into the faintest smile, her eyes closing slowly. "You answered my cry. Never forget me." Her body went still, the light fading from her eyes. The human bowed his head, his tears falling onto her lifeless hand. The temple's voice filled the chamber once more. "One life ends. One carries the fire. The weapon is yours, protector." The core of the weapon descended, fusing with the shard in his hand. Power surged through him, the chamber shaking as the weapon's true form awakened. He raised it high, light spilling out across the temple, above through cracks in the stone ceiling. The sky opened, revealing dark shapes moving among the stars. An enemy fleet, vast and endless, descending upon the world. The human looked up, his jaw set, his grief turning into fire. He stood tall, the weapon glowing in his hands. "I will protect her memory," he whispered. "I will protect this world. I will protect every cry for help." The temple roared with light, the weapon's fire answering his vow. The fleet above the sky loomed closer, and the war for the stars had only begun.